I remember it got to my turn and I was like, no, 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 no. And everyone's like eager to hear what I'm going to say. And I was like, well, I used to be all these other things, but now I don't really know who I am. What you're building isn't just a brand, it's the work and story God trusted you to carry. Welcome to Heard in Heaven. I'm Ray Ireland, best-selling author, global speaker, and co-founder of Evolve Podcasting, where our clients have reached over 3 million downloads. This show is where Holy Spirit revelation meets CEO execution, so your message doesn't just inspire, it multiplies. It's time to speak with fire, shake the earth, and be heard in heaven. There was this moment I almost walked away from everything. Basically, the mic was right in front of me. I was ready to speak. I was ready to push record. I was ready to get on stage. And I wanted to choose silence. And I know that in this episode, I'm going to be talking about this story of what happened and share with you what I heard that had me break through once and for all to stop being silent with my voice. And I know this pain's so real when you have something within you that you know you're meant to talk about, you're meant to share on, and yet there's just this silence. There's this resistance, this restriction, this hesitation around just speaking. As women, I think there's so many layers there to unravel. And as someone who has been a dancer, a performer my whole life, gone into singing, into speaking, there are so many times where I've come up against this resistance. Now, a lot of people, when they come up to me or when they see me or meet me, they think, oh, you're just so natural at this. You're just so gifted at this. And what they don't know are the stories that I'm going to share with you today and inside of this podcast. So let's dive in. I don't think that getting into a new room or a new audience or trying something new for anyone is really going to be easy. I think that it takes guts, it takes confidence, and it takes courage to totally fall on your face. So here I was at this incredible dinner, and it was this very high level group of people that I had looked up to, that I had known of. And I was just kind of pinching myself that I was even in the room, like feeling giddy and so excited and simultaneously totally sick to my stomach because I did not feel like I was really meant to be there. I remember sitting in this room and we started going around and everyone was just sharing, who they are, what they do. Be simple enough, right? And yet, because of where I was at in life, I was a new mom. I felt kind of a little bit lost in my identity. I felt like I had kind of already had my success in business. And I know that's kind of silly because I am young, but I felt like I had almost like finished that part of my life. And now I was going into this mom space. But all of a sudden I was in this entrepreneurial room, which, years before I would have been so excited and I would have had my, intro dialed in and all this, found myself in this in-between moment of training. And I didn't know how to speak about it. And therefore, I just felt like, who even wants to hear what I have to say? Like, why am I even in this room? I don't even belong. I don't really have that much value to give others right now. And so everyone's going around, they're sharing, who they are and what they do. And I remember it's like getting closer and closer to me. And I'm just like, my palms are sweating. Like I definitely am ready, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I have to like seal my arms down to my sides because I for sure had armpit stains, from the sweat and just the nerve. I almost feel like hives breaking out all over my body. And I just remember just thinking like, I was trying to practice what I was going to say and I couldn't like land on anything. So I'm staring across the room. I'm not even looking at the people that are in the room or speaking. I'm not even connecting. And all I'm doing is staring at the wall behind me, like on the other side of the room. And I was just frozen. All I could hear myself saying in the middle of like my heart racing and my mind spinning, all I could remember is just hearing like, this is just too much. This is too much. This is too much. And, but deep in my spirit, I knew I was meant to be there. So what's up with that, right? Like what is up with those moments where we just kind of like lose ourselves, right? We lose our connection with our confidence and feeling like, God is with us and for us. And all of a sudden it's just like this fragile, frail me. And I'm like the skeleton of a human. And I remember it got to my turn and I was like, no, like skip me. Just pretend like I'm not here. Like pretend I'm invisible. That would be better than me talking right now. And everyone's like eager to hear what I'm going to say. And I was like, well, I used to be all these other things, but now I don't really know who I am. And I literally, I don't think I even said anything after that. I was like, I don't know who I am. And I just sat down. And I remember everyone looked so awkward. They're like looking at me. They're like, who invited that girl? And I'm sure they weren't judging me. I felt like, oh my goodness, I should have just not spoken. Like that would have been better than what this embarrassment that I just did to myself. And I remember after that point, I was like, I don't want to come to these dinners. And I just got into such a self-isolating place. And I remember just thinking like, this is done. Like I should just be home, like baking sourdough for my family. Like this is the new me. And at the same time, I felt defeated about it. I knew that there was something more for me. I just really didn't know what it was, but I was feeling, that touch of God and that touch of heaven just giving me this tiny little whisper of encouragement saying, just like move forward. But I barely listened to it at the time. So anyways, fast track to now years later, and I start to really understand what is actually going on. And I start to see that, okay, this is actually so much more about this deep story that wants to be heard and understood. And to be able to do that, I need to feel like I can be heard and understood myself. I need to know that I'm valuable, I am worthy to be heard, I'm worthy to be seen, and get into that underlying root of unworthiness, which, gosh, don't we all experience it? I got to say, as a podcast agency and as a podcast consultant, branding agency person, I see it all the time. All of our clients, no matter how successful they are, they're still doubting themselves. And so it's just something that we can know, like this is part of the human condition. And how do we move through it? How do we move past it? So now let's fast forward here, because now this was actually just a few months ago, which is why I'm so excited to share it, because this whole podcast idea was something that I had been thinking about. And I actually had a different title before and was going to do it. And then I broke my leg. Which is a whole other story in its own, a whole other episode on that and what came out of it. But here I am. I had now been back in business for 2 years since that first time where I was at that party. I've now been back in business for almost 2.5 years. Things are going good, like really good. Business is taking off. I'm getting in these incredible rooms. I'm feeling that energy of being able to speak and share. And then I break my leg. And I'm like, this is such weird timing because I have all these speaking gigs coming up, and gosh, it's a little hard to go travel and speak when you have a broken leg. So I had to cancel a lot of them, but there was one that was in San Diego, and that's where I live. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And it was 2 months after breaking my leg. I'm like, oh, I should be healed and like walking by then. It should be all fine. I did not realize how long of a journey it would be in my leg recovery. In fact, I'm even sitting here right now and I'm like working on bending my leg. So it's like slightly throbbing, but it's totally fine. We're good. I'm so happy to be doing this episode, but I'm still in this journey. So this was about a month and a half ago, and I'm heading out to go speak, and I'm getting excited, but all of a sudden now I'm in that transition period again, and where just life kind of threw something at me, and I'm back and feeling insecure. And I'm just thinking, should I just cancel? Is this insane? Like, what other person with a broken leg goes and speaks on stage in front of, a bunch of people? And again, I just am hearing this voice, and I'm hearing God. I'm hearing the Holy Spirit say, just go. Thank God I am a little bit more connected to God and Holy Spirit now than I was, years prior when I did literally want to just totally shut down. So I just knew, I'm like, okay, God, if if this is what you want me to do, I'm putting it in your hands. Like, you better fill my mouth with exactly what you want me to say, because I'm not really feeling great today. Like, my leg, it hurts. I had just recently gotten off of like the pain medications. Like, my brain was foggy. It just didn't feel, I wasn't energized. So I was like, you're going to have to do this if you want this to be successful, right? And of course, I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but right when you're like breaking through something and you're like, I totally got this. I'm doing so much better than I did in the past. When I came up against resistance and I'm breaking through, then I get a phone call on the way to the speaking gig, and I get a phone call, and it's from someone I was expecting good news from. So I was so excited that they were calling. And it started off good. That whole call, it was so funny. The call was maybe 20 minutes. About 15 minutes of it was good news. It was great stuff. And then that last 5 minutes, here came the sledgehammer that just knocked me down. It was some of the worst news I had experienced. And I'll save that story for another time. I know I'm dropping a bunch of little nuggets here for you guys. But what happened was, it was just such an attack on me. It felt like such an attack. It felt like my legs were chopped off. Well, and I only have one leg. So now the other one's gone too, is basically what it felt like. And yet I'm almost in tears. I had just done my hair and makeup for like the first time, because I had a broken leg. So I hadn't done that in a long time. It was a lot of effort to, get to this speaking gig. And I'm just holding back tears. I'm trying to practice, what I'm going to say again, kind of similar to this dinner. And I'm like, God, you better show up. Like, I really need you right now, And I'm kind of laughing, but inside, again, I feel sick to my stomach. We're in the car. I'm in the back seat, because that's the only way my leg can, I can't bend my leg at this point. I'm just staring at the empty road ahead. And I'm just thinking, gosh, this is so similar to that time where I was staring at the wall and I didn't know what to say. And, like, why is this happening again? And, I basically pull up, and right as I pull up, I get a call from a mentor. And did that mentor course correct me? She told me the exact thing that I needed to hear and understand to see the big picture of what was going on there. And so she started sharing how, it was so normal that her and many other very successful people that do things very publicly, that she noticed that every time that she was going to have a big up level, it would always be something that came in like an attack, from such unexpected places. And she said, this is the fuel that you're going to use when you go up on stage, when you talk. Can you just actually talk about what just happened and share? Because it was so ironic at that point. I was going to be going on stage and sharing about brand building and podcast monetization and all the things that I love talking about very easily, very it's just like second nature to me. And I was going to be talking about the lesson that I had learned with breaking my leg around unbreakable joy. Again, this is going to be another podcast episode, but I was going to be sharing like the download that God gave me around unbreakable joy. And she goes, of course, the enemy's going to try and take your joy from you right before you go on stage and you go empower everyone to share their voice and do it from such a joyful spot. She said, you got to call it out. You got to just call it right out. And so as I'm like literally getting ready to go on stage, all the dots start connecting for me. I start realizing, wow, I have been still holding onto this fear and pattern of self-judgment that I'm not ready, I'm not perfect enough. I either have not enough to say, like when I was a new mom and I was kind of a little bit in this void of a transition and I just had, I wasn't sure really what to say at all. So I thought, okay, let me close my voice. And then here I am now, and I actually have a lot to say because I'm kind of mad that I broke my leg. And I'm kind of like pissed off about this phone call, but I'm also super excited because there's a lot of business happening and there's a lot of momentum. And so it almost felt like overwhelming. I had so much to say that I was like getting shut down because I was like, I don't even know how to be clear about what I want to say right now. And all in all, I felt behind. I felt not ready and I felt unworthy of taking the stage. And so this is where I heard something that actually ended up stopping me in my tracks, and it tied it all together. And it was how God wanted to show me that from every time that I get to practice these moments of owning my worth, owning my voice, that there's always actually a bigger lesson, not just for who I'm speaking to, but actually for myself to get. Because I think when we speak, we create, right? The Bible talks about this. And so when we are speaking and we're being, intentional and thoughtful with our words, and we're reflecting on past stories, or we're sharing them using our voice, sharing who we are or what we're here to do on the planet, there's something that gets activated, and there's a new level of creation, because you're declaring, you're saying, this is who I am. This is what I'm doing. And all of a sudden new ideas start coming out, or more revelation, more clarity. And that's exactly what started happening. And I started realizing why. My deeper why, which is so funny because this is something that I talk about and share about, is you got to know your why behind what you're speaking and sharing. If you have a why, if you have a clear intention, then open your voice, open your mouth, and God will fill your voice. He will guide your speaking. And this is what I teach on. So it was so ironic that he had even a deeper, greater lesson for me in this experience. So I'm going to wait. I'm going to hold this lesson for the next episode. I want to go so deep into it because it was just so profound. And I know it's going to help you with such a big breakthrough around your voice and your why, discovering your why for speaking. So I'm going to leave it here for now. But if you've ever questioned your voice or your story or your timing or your calling, just know that you are in the right place. Here, I'm going to be activating you. I'm going to be pushing some buttons. I'm going to be sharing some stories that will undeniably shift your life if you let it. I have walked through way too much stuff at a young age. I'm feeling old over here because I've gone through so much. And, I sit down with some people and they're like, wow, like, how did this all happen? And, the truth of it is God gives us these life experiences, and there's just so much in there. So this is just the beginning. I'm so excited to be starting off this new podcast because God has been asking me to do it for not too long, but he finally gave me the clarity, that last piece just recently. And I learned that, it comes from listening. And when you can listen to him clearer, you can know and really be obedient in his guidance. Okay, that's the last hint I'm going to give you guys. No other hints are coming out of my lips. I'm sealing them shut. But just know that there's an unexpected journey unfolding and opening for you. If you are listening to this podcast, it is not by accident that you're here. You have landed here for a reason, and I'm just so honored to have you here. And make sure that, let's keep this podcast going. So please hit subscribe, leave a comment, leave a review. That's going to help me know that you're here with me, and we're going to get this podcast out to as many women as possible. Because I really believe that it is time for us to use our voice and to share the stories that we've walked through and been through to help one another. So send it to a sister. I know you all have at least one woman in your life who's in this same journey of just in this really powerful time, this very, very sacred time of expansion, of something new that is being birthed, something new that is coming out of you, something new that wants to be shared and released. Send this to a girlfriend. I'm going to be giving you guys some incredible practical tools and tips and stories, and you're not going to want to miss an episode. I'll leave it there. So for anyone who has been sitting on your voice and not using it, come on, girl, let's do it together. We all rise together as we share. I'll talk to you soon. Your voice carries weight, not just for today, but for eternity. If this episode stirred something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, speak it, let it ripple. If you're ready to launch a platform that amplifies your message and multiplies your impact, I'm here to help. Start your journey with the link in the show notes down below. Subscribe, leave a review, and remember, when you speak with fire, you don't just shake the earth, you echo in heaven.